Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Culture Look. I am Peter Kropler and today we will be talking about a particular show called Young Royals. Now for those who haven't watched my latest episode, it will be up in the cards, and also make sure to subscribe and also make sure to give this video a like if you like what you see. So before we go into anything else, all of my links are down in the description. Hopefully I remember this time, and let's keep going. The show Young Royals is a Swedish teen Netflix series that came out in 2021. It follows a young royal prince named Prince Wilhelm in the show as he joins an elite boarding school, and there he learns entirely new things about himself. It deals with issues that teens have faced for decades and centuries ago, but in this particular case it also focuses on many 21st century issues such as social media and peer pressure, along with parental pressure to be the perfect child. Young Royals also deals with a lot of issues that teens have faced for decades and centuries before, but in this case it also focuses on many other 21st century issues such as online harassment, bullying and social media in particular. The main character, especially in this case, experienced this quite extensively, but we will get into that in a minute. The show deals with some particular pressing issues such as social media, online harassment, coming out and being outed, class difference, disabilities, and parental pressure. Most of these issues are dealt with with a very sensitive subject and a very sensitive look at it. These characters often experience these themselves, and also addiction is one of them that comes forth quite often. Substance abuse as well. We see the issue of social media being a major role play in the plot as it is one of the catalyst moments for the main characters' coming out moments. The issue of social media and Young Royals is one of the particular heartaches of the show. It is also one of the biggest moments in the show when the main protagonist is outed with the elements of social media in play. The show deals with the topic of coming out with a sensitive subject. It is extremely important storyline, and this is also one of the main storylines of the show. One article on a site called Dens of Geeks notes that Prince Wilhelm's and Simon's relationship, quote unquote, turns into one of the most evocative, explorative love stories in contemporary queer TV. Queer representation in the local media and in most television shows has skyrocketed since the 2000s. Not only has this number increased, but representation has also become a lot less problematic. It has also started to break down most of the stereotypes, but it has also casted queer characters in a particular set of storylines. This is where the coming out storyline of Young Royals breaks the mold for this. It doesn't follow the conventional story. It doesn't follow the conventional pattern of most elements. In Young Royals, the coming out storyline is only as I said, almost complete. Prince Wilhelm doesn't officially come out, and his parents, or the royals and the royal family, decide to cover it up that he was found in a video kissing a boy. This is also something that Young Royals tackles quite deeply, is the covering up in the erasure of queer icons and queer characters in our world. For years and years and decades before, most media didn't include such positive representation of any kind. If these characters were in a story, these were often the villains, died at the end or got some horrendous after effect. There was no positive queer representation in film and media. Most of such stories were always found to be where the character was either dead, at the end of the story, or was significantly less fortunate in its outcome. These characters were always side characters or villains that often didn't mean anything. One particular instances, or many instances, of these queer coding or queer baiting or queer inserts are the villains of the Disney Renaissance. Scar. Many of these characters are quite queer coded or queer baiting, and there are many of these characters. But these things have since changed, and this is a good thing for the queer community. In the case of young royals, the covering up of Wilhelm's sexuality is extremely interesting. Most or previous generations tried to cover up sexualities for the sake of keeping a normal front. Many people have to hide who they really are in this case, and in most cases, and this is something that most queer people deal with every day, if not often. Coming out for Wilhelm isn't as simply as saying who he is or saying who he loves. In this case, he shows a front of someone else. He is the crown prince. As previously stated, social media is one of the main things that outs Wilhelm. It also is one of the main things that also catches the... It is also one of the main things that helps catch the person who leaked this news of Wilhelm, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone. It is also one of the most interesting plotlines and one of the most interesting twists, as you don't know what's coming, but you know it's there. Parental pressure is one of the most interesting aspects of this show. Most teens or young people in their lives have experienced some kind of pressure from their parents or guardians. Not all parental pressure is bad, but in some cases parents can take it to the absolute extreme and control their children's lives. They can control what their children do, what their children take on as careers, and this is something that is ever prevalent in our world. It is seen in particular when Wilhelm's parents want to cover up his sexuality. Also, one of the other characters have to stand up against their parents for doing something that she wants to. This is one of the most things that teens struggle with when standing up to their parents. They've been told to respect and to care for their parents and also never question them. Felice is forced by her mother to... Felice is the character that is forced by her mother to do things that she doesn't want, one of them being riding a horse. One of the other characters, Sarah, instead rides the horse, and when Felice finally stands up to her mother, she says she doesn't want to ride the horse. Parental pressure is one of the things that I've said that is one of the things that is quite common under teens, and although not all parental pressure is bad, there are some parents who take it to extreme. This has been seen in various TV shows and various films as parents try to control or decide their children's lives for them. But this is ultimately not something that all parents do, but there are parents that do it. These children often act out in small little ways, but in this case, when Felice finally stands up, it is one of the more powerful things in the show, and she says no. She says no to no longer being someone she is not. I've mentioned the character that with the name of Sarah, and in this case, it is one of the characters that it is actually a character that has ADHD and autism. Sarah is one of the few characters in most shows that are depicted as neurodivergent. This is something that isn't often seen and isn't actually understood by most people. People who do live with people with ADHD, or people who do live with this, is something that are also another group that hasn't been very well represented in media and film in general. This could be partially due to the lack of understanding of this condition and this behavioral circumstances. I am not an expert on this, and I'm not sure what most of these people experience. Sexual disorders and disabilities are extremely uncommon in representation in the common media. This is also one of the sad things in our media that isn't explored or isn't seen, as this is also not something that is so well understood by many people. But this shouldn't be something that deter a filmmaker from making films or television series in telling stories like this. Although Sarah plays a minor role, she does have her story isn't particularly well carved out, but she does represent some type of representation. Although it is minor, it does take on some form. What I'm trying to get here is that a representation is seen, and that this actually shows that people that don't just suddenly disappear after they have a disability or a disorder. In this case, Sarah actually drives a certain plot as she builds a bond with her horse and also becomes friends with a girl named Felice, as I previously mentioned. This is also the girl that stands up to her mother about horse riding. Sarah and Simon are brother and sister in this case. They share a mutual bond, but when devastation strikes at the end of the show, it becomes apparent how deeply divided they are. Class difference is one of the things that is so often discussed in teen shows. It's also something that is seen in many other shows that I've recently watched, one of them being particularly Elite. I'll talk about that show in a future video, but just to get where I'm going with class difference is that the character or the two characters of Simon and Sarah are on a lower class than Prince Wilhelm. The other characters in the show are all either elite or of high class standards. These characters look towards Simon in disgust or dismay of some kind, as he is either all mocked or bullied for being of a lower class. He even later in the show wonders if he should drop out after a scandal hits him and the school. It seems like Simon and Sarah gets the brunt of all my topics that I'm touching on for today, but one of the things that I lastly want to touch on is bigotry and harassment. Bigotry and harassment is one of the things that students and teens deal with almost regularly. This could be in a bullying way or in just a downright down look fashion. Bigotry and harassment is something that most teens deal with when there are two different stances on something or two different opinions on something. One party might bully one for another, and this is something that often is seen as where someone can appear themselves to be higher than the other or better than the other. This is particularly seen when some characters mock or bully Simon for being of a lower class. Before I carry on, I just want to say something that this is in no way a review of the show. This is supposed to be a discussion of what the show is about and the topics that teens face in everyday life. This is in no way also going to be, In short, Young Royals is a fantastic show that deals with incredibly sensitive topics in the show. It is extremely interesting in how it deals with topics and how it actually deals with how these topics play out. It is also interesting to see where the writers take the show and what happens to the characters. In no way are any of these topics never been discussed before. Most of them have been dealt with in some kind. But that is all that I have for you guys today. So if you like this video, please make sure to give this video a like or a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more of these epic content, make sure to give this channel a subscription. If you have any suggestions of what shows I should talk about more, then go down to the comment section and comment and tell me, what did you think about the show and what shows would you like me to discuss next. That is all. Otherwise, and if you would like to see anything that I write, my link for my book is in the description. If you would like to follow me on any of my social medias, then please go check out my TikTok and my Instagram, and I will see you all there. I launch a video every Friday on this channel at exactly 4 PM South African Standard Time. So that is all I have for you guys today, and enjoy.